guys, Dandelion Song here. So I came over here to Wiki to look at the historic Route 66 in Texas. This is the Texas part of it. And it says that it was 179 miles and it existed from 11/11/1926 to 6/26/1985. And the west end of it was at New Mexico, at the New Mexico state line, and it was 66. And then it says it went, I think it goes all the way here to the east, which anyway, it passes here is where it passes through Amarillo. So the one that I thought of passes through Amarillo too. So I'm a little confused because here it says that it's only on the Panhandle, but they don't have a big enough picture of Texas here to, and I can't zoom in to see about that. Well, let me show you, because Amarillo is right here. I kind of wonder if this is supposed to be the end of this arrow. Because if I squeeze this in a little more, Tulsa would be right exactly in place. And then if I squeeze that one in more, I don't know what city it would be, because like right now it's right over Elk City and Clinton. And I don't know what happened to the rest of it, but it looks like this is Route 44. Let's just see here. So I don't know. I can't tell if this is Route 66. I don't know how important it is. It was just an interesting side note. Because the reason why that's interesting is in Washington, D.C., let's just go there. It's a small point, but let's just go there. All right, well, I've never tried to lay Orion down over here, but here we have a skull, we have owls, we have Isis and Osiris, we have Arlington, but here, so there's a 66. You see it when I was out. Let's see if it'll pop up again. It's right here by Virginia Avenue and Isis's right hand. And I showed you in Dallas how if that is an Isis, there is a Virginia there that is pointing at her, what would be her uterus, and there's a Virginia here too. And there is also a 66 over here. There it is. I don't know if it's the historic or not, but you see this Virginia Avenue right here, and it's pointing right at her conception vessel, where we have this is the George Washington Monument. So you can see these guys do care about their obelisks, and their, they care about this kind of stuff. So it's not random. We just got to pay attention to this, and we're just looking at the patterns here with the 6/6 on the east side, and if there is an Osiris Orion connection, she would be sitting on Osiris. Now here I drew in, it's hard to tell. Let me see if I can make this transparent. Alright guys, well, my Google Places is so stacked up, and I do have it sorted into tons of folders, but I cringe every time I try to find anything in those folders because it's such a small place and so many folders. So if you don't mind, I'm just going to leave Isis up here, but you can kind of see Horus Senior underneath her, and another time I'll come and find those and remember where they are so I can make them transparent again. But she is pointing towards the east. She's sitting on Osiris. Now Osiris, in some things that I have read, is an equivalent to Orion. So I'm not taking that as gospel, just a possibility of the symbolism. And that was just my last video getting done, and then it plays it. So we came here to see the 66, and just to show you a few other things real quick in case you haven't been here before, because I know I have some new subscribers. And welcome you guys. Lots of strange things to see here. Anyway, this is Horus Senior, and this is the story of this is an ancient Egyptian story. I don't think that we can pretend to understand this story at all. I think the Freemasons have the most information, and they keep it to themselves. and they probably don't understand it. So anyway, just trying to figure out what's going on, figure out why these things are here. So we're back in Delos now. This is the line that goes to the Sun Pyramid and goes to Astana. And as I have been learning some more about the body of our body and how we are divided by a symmetry line, the same that a circle is divided by its diameter, and it shows the idea of the temple or the holiness of the body and the kingdom of holiness within. And the Freemasons seem to symbolize that with pi. And I'm hoping they don't actually worship a number. I think they're just using a symbol. I don't know. I'm not a Freemason. I'm just trying to figure this out. But since there is a line of symmetry across man, and since this line from the Sun Pyramid to Astana goes almost exactly through, it goes through this belt. And if we zoom in here, it goes right through Arlington, which is right between Fort Worth and Dealey Plaza and Dallas. Now, I am going to lay down Orion the other way because I couldn't get this to exactly line up with the belt, also with these other cities down here. So I'm going to keep working on this. I might not have it exactly right, but what I want to say about this line and the symmetry of man is that if we are a circle, if we are holy or whatever, then we have a line of symmetry down, we have two eyes, two nose holes, we're basically symmetrical. And so it's interesting that this line more or less goes right up the center of Orion right here. Just looking at that symbolism, just trying to be aware of that. All right, well, I accidentally clicked the button that saved this line before I showed you that this line from Dealey to Manitoba, and I drew this line because we were talking about cutting things in half, specifically this line going through Orion. But this line is, kind of vertical. I don't know if it cuts this in half or not. I haven't done any measurements or bisects it at all. But yeah, I would say that it roughly bisects it, and we do have some major cities, some major installations that kind of mark the edges of this. Well, I do remember the measurements here. It was 359 heading, 359.26 heading. Now that is very, very similar to this heading, which I call the rose line heading. Hold on. This heading from here up here. This is it's a 360. So one's a 359.26 and one's a 360, so it's off by one, which is completely legal in the Colwell rule. I did measure it exactly. I zoomed in on each side, so I'm pretty sure that it is a precise number over there. But a rose line is a 0 degree. Yeah, it's the 0 degree heading. So you can see the symbolism of the circle where it's the all and the nothing. It's the seed of life and it's the 0. It's 360 degrees and the 0. And so that's what I'm just pointing out, that this heading is fairly precise. Now, the distance was 1,180 miles, and I don't remember the fraction of the mile. So that's a 118. That's an 11.8. That's a Nefertiti number, and it's also Zachary K. Hubbard would say that's I think he would say that's that has a death reference. I hope I don't misquote him. If I do, it's my fault, not his. I think that's right, though. So you do see these giant triangles here between. This goes to the Washington Monument. This one goes to the Trans-American Pyramid. I wanted to show you up here in Manitoba. Again, this is in my outro. This man, let's look at him. Where'd he go? Oh, here he is. Okay, yeah, I saw an 11. And what is that? A 229. Okay, so see this man right here? See the face and the beard? I don't know if he has a beard. He has a pointy chin and a head. This guy's in my outro. There's his nose. I drew him. I drew this part that comes off his chin. I could probably erase that, but that's the 23 line. So I drew it because they're pretty attached to the 23. So, and then also I drew it without a layer, so I couldn't erase it later. as long as we're talking about installations on phalluses, this guy's got it too. Same thing going on. You could see the different drawings here probably as I zoomed in. This one goes along his leg. See the leg here? And then, you know, I've told you about in the video about the mouth in the river. Please go look at that if you haven't seen it. It's back to the books about Pi and the alphabet, about the mouth in the river and how these rivers are very important to them. And all of the mouth equals God, and you know, eat equals God, which is a little ominous when we have so many harvest words going on. I just found a website about this, so I want to come back here and show you this, but I just want to tell you right now that this is an installation on this guy's private parts right here. As far as mouth of the river, so see how this river goes right through his head. It's almost like he's being baptized. And it connects up here. I used to have a line here that went to the Benjamin Parkway. It looks like it's gone. Sometimes they just go away. But if just going on memory, there's a line from the Benjamin Parkway where the Pope was that goes right to the mouth, or to, to the place where this turns from a lake to a river, which is right in the top of this guy. Now I'd love to know his name. Maybe this is Jesus. Maybe this is Zeus. Who knows? Maybe it's Cyrus. I don't know who this is. All right, but this has to be the biggest Orion that I found ever. It's crazy how huge that is. Look how big that is. I wonder if there's other just gigantic things out here. Look at these triangles. I'll just take a quick look at those and I'll let you know if I find anything. All right, well, before I accidentally click this away, let me show it to you. And you can't make this up because look, there's a 168 right there, phi and 816, right? And I guess I drew this. I don't think this is a right angle, although maybe it could be. It doesn't look like a perfectly stand out right angle to me, but maybe it is. But it looks like I drew it right because look at these numbers. Oh, look at, hold on, I wasn't exactly over it. Let me check it again. Well, it's still the 622. So I guess we're pretty low, so it didn't change much even though I just adjusted it. So this is kind of like a 922. And here's our 17. And that's Q. And then if you add the 7 to the 9, that's 16, which is a P, which is another form of phi, because I believe that the P is like the main core symbol for the chi rho, and it's meant to be spin. It's meant to be a spinning thing, like an atom. All right, so if you do add the 6 to the 22, you get 28, and I normally interpret that as the rotation of the outer part of the sun as visible from the earth, and that was a very, very favorite Egyptian number. And I looked this up in gematria, and it turns out that 622 does equal the word Egyptian, and I'll show you that in a minute. But before we get there, 28 is also the sign. I didn't realize this until I was studying some more Marty Leeds, that we have 14 phalanges on each hand, and so it goes back to the idea of the symmetry of the body being the temple, then the numbers of the body being sacred, that kind of idea. And then the hand, of course, has 5 fingers, so that's the idea of phi, P-H-I. It's like P-H-I-V-E, right? So 14 plus 14 are the 2 hands, and we have a lot of movies that cut off the right hand, and this is also probably goes to the core of the idea of the 28 years that the Twin Towers were allowed to stand. So if you think of it that way, then each of those towers were a hand, possibly. You know, some people think of them as male and female, and I think there's a lot of accurate and important ways to interpret the symbolism. But it's also possible that the 14 is a hand, because they do love to cut hands off in movies and show mechanical hands and the right hand of God and all that kind of thing. Well, so that's what I wanted to tell you. All right, let's look at the gematria. So you know we just did measure the height of a pyramid that goes across the United States. And the height of it in miles, let's go back, in miles is 622, 25 and, you know, or 28, depending. Maybe I'll take the 28 because that would be a double 28, and you know how they like symmetry, so we'll just maybe take the 28. But I just looked up the 622 and it equals Egyptian, which I think is very fitting because of the idea of the phalanges on the hand of the body and how the Egyptians love the number 28. Now the inner core of the sun rotates 33 degrees according to the Freemasons and the Egyptians. I think they get their information from the Egyptians. The Egyptians knew a lot about solar science. If you want to believe that the Egyptians were a bunch of primitives, you've been misled. Okay, so also Amazon is right there with the Egyptian. It's very interesting how they just rose to power. You know, they didn't struggle along as a small business very much, did they? I do shop at Amazon, and I love shopping there. I love the convenience. And I think I save so much money in gas just doing that. Let's see. It also equals stock exchange, but I'm a little worried about the giantness of these type of things, and you know, just how big things get. It also equals anatomy, fairy tale. Oh, and I think I forgot to mention baby boomer and jihad, which I think are in Maitreya. Those are important. Corrupt media. Lots of important concepts here. So just backing out here, I've noticed that it looks like the line almost goes precisely over Lincoln, and there's a 77 here. Seems like there's just always a 77 wherever you turn, and then Columbus and Fremont right here. Almost like a little cube at the bottom of this pyramid. All right, so I just pulled the line over from the center of the pyramid, so it would be half the pyramid, and it doesn't go to the Washington Monument like I thought it did. It goes to the Capitol building, and the distance is 1066. So we have our 106, and we have our 66 symbolism, and then we have the 90. 89, I believe, has to do with Lupercalia, and over these long distances, the 89 is more stable, so it's actually kind of accurate. I'm going the other way back. It's 283 degrees. I always like to go back because sometimes it isn't what you think it is, and I'm pretty sure that it's not supposed to be that. That's not the opposite of 90 degrees. So, anyway, something to know. All right, well, the two sides aren't exactly equal. This is 1375, and it is 269 degrees, though, which is the same heading as that Horus is lying on, and or Horus Senior or Osiris is lying on, and Isis is sitting on with her legs pointing towards the west. Is the same heading as this, and it comes out to the Trans-American Pyramid. That's where we are. I was also measuring it because Bohemian Grove isn't too far away. And I thought that's where this went. But it looks like my Bohemian Grove measurements are gone. I wonder if my Bohemian Grove video is still up. Because I have to go look for all that again. This might be the Valley of the Moon. I just didn't find any. It's not rural enough for Bohemian Grove over here. Well, anyway, that's an aside. This one. So, okay. So here's Kansas City. And it's right next to, there's a little city here called Liberty. And St. Joseph is 22 on take Highway 22-9, short distance away. See what you see here. Do you see what I see? St. Joseph, Virgin Mary, Bride of Christ, who's also the Statue of Liberty type of idea. Liberty right here, Lady Liberty. I think for the Freemasons it's all the same. Alright, well it won't let me zoom out without erasing my drawing. I don't know, it looks like she's kind of crouching there. If it's a real person, I would love to see, like, wouldn't that be wonderful? I mean, I guess it would be, I'd like to see the artistry of, you know, her husband standing while she's kneeling there, right? Maybe she's holding the baby. Maybe the baby's in here. Look at this little head. This kind of tells you, Blue Parkway might be, you know, normally they dress the Virgin Mary in blue. And since I would say this is more the Virgin Mary than Isis, although I think that ultimately it's all the same symbolism. But since this one's next to St. Joseph, I would expect to see more characteristic or traditional Virgin Mary type of symbolism. Like not the crown as much. And possibly the blue. So here I kind of drew. Now, if you think that this might actually be the Christ child here, that maybe there's a face in there, but it is between the two rivers right here. And that's one of the ideas of Eden. It might be one of their ideas of Christ if you were one of these city planners who was possibly deciding to make an installation like this. All right, well, the reason why I was zooming in here in Kansas City is because it's part of that back upraised hand of Orion. So if that's true, if it really is a hand, it would be cradling the Christ child's head right here. Not that I understand all that, just kind of showing you what, I'm just kind of poking around here and showing you what I see. All right, love you guys. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.